Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the B2 Beast podcast. I'm honored and stoked to bring you our next guest. He is an absolute beast. He is a serial entrepreneur and investor with a $200 million exit under his belt and has invested into over 400 different companies. He's now the CEO of SmartSuite, pioneering a truly all-in-one software solution. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jon Darbyshire. Jon, welcome to the show.
Travis, it's a pleasure to be on here with you.
Thank you so much. Super grateful to have you. You have been killing it, and we were able to connect on LinkedIn. And this was a prime opportunity to spotlight this story, which we're going to get into today. You have so many epic chapters in your business and your career. But what I want to first tap into, just a quick little curveball or softball to see where your head is at. What are you most grateful for right now, today?
Well, it's Christmas, it's the holiday season, and I have the chance to spend it with my son and daughter who, 29 and 31, coming back home. So we're going to be together for a family for the first time in quite some time. So I have to say that, we've been looking forward to this particular week for 6-7 months to get us all together.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, keeping plenty busy. That is beautiful, brilliant to hear. So let's tap into your story. I did a lot of my digital stalking, and you have some epic chapters. But to simplify that whole history of yours, let's start with a big win, an exciting win. What do you consider the most exciting win of your career, and any lessons or advice that we can kind of extract from there? But I know you've had a very wide spectrum. So what has been something in your entrepreneurial journey, or even on the career side, that has just been unusually exciting or interesting that we can share today?
Yeah, no, I'd love to dig into that. So I'll maybe start with the story around how I kind of got into the entrepreneurial side of SaaS software and how that really changed, my career path and kind of my life in general along that way. I was a partner at Ernst & Young. I had the chance to run one of their global practices and had an idea to leave and help organizations manage what became governance, risk, and compliance inside of their organizations. At the time, it was how do banks bring online banking to market and have all the things behind that secured in a way that makes online banking secure. So I left Ernst & Young, started a company called Archer Technologies. But before we wrote a single line of code, I approached our very first potential customer, which was a large company in Plano, Texas, EDS. Many people probably remember that. They had about 120,000 employees, if I remember right. They did outsourcing for IT to large companies like General Motors, where they managed all of their infrastructure for them. And I approached them with an idea, and if you can believe this, an HTML prototype on a floppy disk. And we're in the boardroom and we're meeting with the executives, and I'm pitching them on, this is a new way to manage your entire business that's here. And at the end, it couldn't have went any better. And they said, sold, we're ready. When can you implement the product? And I had to step back and say, I haven't wrote a single line of code yet. That all looks great, but that's an HTML prototype. But here's where it gets interesting. So we agreed that we would implement the MVP, the first version of that software, in 6 months, went to work on that. But then we started negotiating the contract, and I went into the gentleman's office. I'll never forget this day. It just changed my life. And I came in with a price point, and I said, look, this is back in 2000, 2001. I said, we want to sell you the software, but we're going to sell it as an annual license compared to a perpetual license with a maintenance, right? It hadn't been done very often at that point. And I don't remember the exact number, but it was somewhere around $600,000. And I said, we want you to sign up for a 3-year commitment, $600,000, the same amount each month. And he came back to me and he just looked at me, number one, and just kind of stared me down and said, John, we'll come back. And I get the number off a little bit, but it was like 930,000. He said, John, I counter that with $930,000 a month or a year. And I sat in my chair trying to process. I thought I offered 600. Like, what is happening here? And after he countered,
wait a minute.
And that was the customer, right? Countering up. And it took me back for a while. And then he just started laughing at me. And he just said, look, John, this project is so important for our business. You have to be successful. This is the budget we have. We want you to use that budget and go build this software, and it has to work for us. And in that moment, I realized the relationship between a vendor and a customer and the need that customers have for products that work to help, solve problems in their business, that they were relying on us at a level that they'd never relied on somebody before. And they were willing to pay for that. And that started Archer Technologies, which became the first SaaS company that I had built. And, fast forward 8 or 9 years, we were able to sell that. But EDS was our very first customer that got us going down that journey.
Oh my goodness. That is epic indeed. The counter up. Brilliant story. What I'm hearing from that is another dose, another chapter of imposter syndrome. We see it over and over and over again, no matter how high up the food chain.
Right.
You always feel like, wow, I really shouldn't. I don't think it's worth this much. Maybe 500K, 600K. No, how about 900?
Exactly.
Oh, absolutely amazing. Thank you. Now let's spin to perhaps the other end of the spectrum of not winning. I know there may be some mistakes, some failures in I guarantee there are in this journey. What would you consider your most epic and glorious failure in business so far? What lesson or advice can we extract from that?
Yeah, I'll go back to that first company, Archer Technologies, that we had built as well. And, that was, Archer is a family name. We named it after my grandfather, John Archer. So it had a lot of meaning to us as well. This is back in 2001, and we were selling mainly to financial services companies. I think we had 4 or 5 large banks on Wall Street that were customers at that point. It was our first year of existence. And then 9/11 happened, right? And some of those customers were actually or had employees in the towers, that were there. And we were a profitable company from that first sale at EDS. But we weren't able to collect from these banks the payments that they owed us to be able to make payroll. Like, it was a tough time. And we made a decision not to pressure them to make payment. They were dealing with enough with everything that had happened with losing members of their teams that were there. But that was the hardest part of being a CEO that I've ever experienced. And that cash flow was a problem for us. There was not a lot of venture dollars that were out there in that moment in time with everything that was happening. I remember feeling like we were failing as a company, but we weren't failing because we didn't have a great product or we didn't have great customers. We were failing because our customers weren't paying us. That was there. And I had to figure that problem out. And I remember there were times early where, I had put I was all in. Me and my wife, Tara, ran sales and marketing, and my mom actually ran all the operations and finance side. So it was a family business for us. And we were all in on that. I remember one day we had to make payroll. My mom comes to me and says, John, we're short like 20 grand. You can't make payroll today. And the only thing I knew was I took I think I had a Suburban, and I just took it to the local car dealer over lunch and said, I need to sell this right now. And they said, we're not going to give you a great price. And I'm like, I need 20 grand. Will you give me 20 grand? They gave me close to that number, which was a steal that they got, but I actually made payroll. That happened the next week again, and I had to go sell my boat that was there. But that was, as a CEO, I felt like a failure because I wasn't able to pay our employees. But that was the best thing I ever did. If I flip that story, the employees ultimately caught wind. They figured out what happened, and then they were all in with with the company and us. They knew that we sacrificed to make sure that they got paid. They really appreciated that. That helped build the culture of that company kind of from that point forward. So,
wow. Definition of a silver lining there for something that pressure, like I'm just imagining the pressure of that moment arriving, but leaning into it, making that immediate sacrifice, which in the moment doesn't feel self-serving in any way at all. It's, I'm selling my this, my that to take care of this.
Right.
But in return, it builds loyalty and trust that you couldn't buy that with a check if you wanted to. But seeing that moment, that team, that loyalty, is just super, super powerful. So, I'm just devastated thinking of how paralyzed I would be going through that moment. So amazing to hear that. Amazing to see that. That those persistent moments, those rock bottom moments, can actually be strengthening and give you that core like bonding. They say like one of the best ways to build a relationship or bonding with people is going through traumatic or negative or turmoil type situations. So I'm sure the loyalty and bonding gained from that is phenomenal. So amazing. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Now you have 400 companies you've invested in through your firm and in other various ways. Last piece of this segment, I'd love to just hear of all of your networking and investments and business encounters, what is the most interesting person or project that you have encountered? Just in like, they just are at almost like alien level of like, what is going on here? Do you have any fun, weird, exciting, quirky companies or people that you've ran into over the years?
Yeah, I think I've worked with quite a number of fun, kind of quirky companies. I'll just tell you an interesting philosophy that I've kind of found as an investor in companies is that, early on when I started investing, I had a good friend at Bain Capital that came to me and said, John, don't get so excited about the ideas, get excited about the people. And he said, even if the people don't have the ideas yet, like stay focused on the people and the pedigree of the people, right? The knowledge that they have. And early on, I would get so excited about the idea and I would not spend as much time focused on, can the people actually pull the idea off, right? Are they equipped with the talent, the tools, the resources to make that happen? And quite a number of companies that I invested in that I was so excited about that I thought was just going to change the world with things that they were doing didn't make it, right? And then as I began to kind of change that philosophy, I realized, all right, I need to focus on the people. And I used a book called Outliers. I don't know if you're familiar with Malcolm Gladwell in the book Outliers. He comes up with this concept of, once somebody has 10,000 hours in doing something, they become an expert in that thing, right? And I begin to think about it that way. Like, do the people that I want to invest in have the experience that's 10,000 hours of knowledge, right, to really make a difference in the company that they're doing? Now, if the idea that they have is great, you've got a home run, right? But what I found was that really good people with average ideas do really well. Like those turn into really good, solid companies like Archer Technologies did, and they exit at good numbers. Yeah. But when you have the combination of those two things, that's when things get really special, and you find companies that become these unicorns and sell for billions of dollars that are there. But for me personally, I tend to get excited about the technology, the idea, and I have to pull myself back to focus on the people and then the idea that's in place.
Yes, no, that sounds oddly familiar. Brilliant. No, I love that approach. It really helps bring the most interesting and innovative projects and people to the forefront, because that's a difficult that experience. Those hours are difficult to manipulate. You can throw anything you want on a pitch deck or a good salesy schmoozy charismatic guy, but you can't fake those hours and that experience and that personality. So that's brilliant to hear. your approach and your system, because that leads us into our next segment, the secret sauce, where we're wanting to tap into clearly you're doing something successful. You're doing something right over there. So this is where we try to extract and steal as much of that juice as we can in this show. With the first question, what one habit or task is non-negotiable for you? It's something that you have to do every single day.
Yeah, for me, we follow an agile philosophy through our entire organization on how we get work done. And agile comes from a development perspective where the developers each morning have a stand-up meeting for 15 to 20 minutes with individual groups, and they kind of talk about, here's what I accomplished yesterday, here's what I'm accomplishing or working on today, and do I have any blockers, things that I need help to get done. We've implemented that across our entire organization, and I spend the first 2 hours of my day, every day, non-negotiable, with every team going through the stand-ups. And that, what I've just found personally is the performance gains that you get as a company by me having the knowledge across everything that's happening, answering questions. I mean, it lights our people on fire. They can just go get their work done. There's no roadblocks, or if there's a roadblock, I try to get that taken care of in 24 hours. So the next day I've got that solved. So they're, off and running, if we can. And we're a completely remote, we're a remote first company. I shouldn't say completely remote first. We have people in 9 different countries. So it's also a time for us to come together for a period of time each day. And we're not all on the 2 hours of calls. Those are broken down into 20 to 30 minutes with each of the various teams that are there. But that, for me, that's non-negotiable. And new employees that come in that aren't used to that are taken back by it for a minute, and then they get in the flow, and then it allows them to stay connected with what's happening, across the teams, and ask me questions direct as opposed to just inside of their particular group.
That is glorious. I remember encountering, so I was up late last night doing some YouTube video stalking and encountered you were speaking at a conference about this remote team. And actually another interesting piece of this that I was going to sneak in here is that it's all contractors. You have a couple co-founders and I think you said one sales guy. Yeah. And your entire team is actually all contractors. So are these the teams that you're mentioning you meet with in the morning, is these teams of contractors?
Yes.
And what do you go through? What's your checklist when you have those meetings, or general loose structure of how those operate?
Sure.
Because this is where I think a lot of businesses are starting to head. That's where we have a fully remote, 100% contractor-based production team. And I'm starting to see the light here of it's a completely different business model of building your infrastructure. So I'm curious, what do those teams look like, and what do those meetings briefly look like?
Yeah. So we follow that approach for the majority of our development activities that we do. So these are very seasoned, experienced software developers, project engineers, project managers, business requirements type people that we have. We work with 3 main organizations that bring us the majority of our resources. We did that for a couple of reasons. The first of which, as a company, we spent the first 2.5 years working with about 100 developers across these 3 teams to build our core platform before we launched and told anybody that SmartSuite even had a product that was there. The reason that's so important is that each of these teams have hundreds and hundreds of people on staff, and we're able to pull in the team members that we need for very specific technical tasks that are needed. So let's say that if I hired a team of 10 developers, and those are my 10 people, something maybe is kind of outside of their skill set, we have to go learn that, figure that out. With the way that we work now is we'll go pull in a person from one of these teams that has a specialization maybe in single sign-on. We'll bring them into the team for 2 or 3 months to help with that project, educate the other people, but then they can go away. And that's all they do is single sign-on across every product, right? We're talking encryption, whatever that might be. So it helps us from a development standpoint. We're much more efficient. We can get so much more done with that, bringing in the resources as we need them. So we average somewhere between 60 and 70 developers based on the workload that we have in that month or the next 2 months, that's kind of happening. About 50 of those stay with our project all the time. The other ones kind of rotate in and out based on the need that's there. And in those stand-up meetings, we go through the three things I just said, which each person talks about. Here's what I accomplished yesterday. We go into detail. They have 2 or 3 minutes where they talk about, I did this, this, and this. Here's what I'm focused on today. And then here's any questions or blockers that I have. We also use Slack, and we do the same thing in Slack. And the reason we use Slack for that is that now every person on every team can see what everybody else is working on. And so it just helps them be in the know of what's happening in the company. And it's not just developers. We do that with our onboarding team, with our sales team, with our partner team. So if anybody, we just have a daily stand-up channel. That's what it's called in Slack. If anybody's interested on what's going on with somebody, they just go click and they can just kind of see, the effort, what's happening.
Perfect. No, that is brilliant. That recurring roadblock removal is one of those max efficiency things that I think a lot of people need to keep on their plate. It's one of those things that's easy to assume something's delegated, it's done, they're in their role, but those roadblocks pop up, especially if you're doing innovative, crazier stuff like you're doing all the time. Those new roadblocks are going to pop up. And you mentioned Slack for the communication. Also very powerful to have a clear strategy of how and where that internal comms can happen. So you snuck a little bit ahead. I want to start getting into tools and applications briefly here. And a little bit of an asterisk for this question, excluding SmartSuite, because we'll get to that one in a moment. Hopefully that will be the answer for this question for future shows. But we want to know what tool or application you consider a must-have for your business. Similar question to the habit of something that you probably use every day. And then if there's any particular way you want to share how you use it, if it's in a non-traditional way or anything, would love to tap into that. Do you have a favorite tool or application in your tech stack?
I think we have 3 or 4 that are just essential to running a SaaS-based business.
You can do a full stack if you want.
I'll hit you with
I have that in parentheses for the folks that want to go nerdy for the full tech stack. Let's get it.
Yeah, we use a product called Intercom, which allows us to communicate with our customers directly inside of our product. So it has a little icon that's in the right-hand corner of our product at all times. They can click on that. It opens up a little bot that allows them to chat with us in real time, right then and there. But it also provides information on how to do things, videos, guides, different things. But what happens is, the minute that somebody asks a question, it comes back into, it depends on the time zone and who's on call. But we have people that are standing by and answering those questions in real time. So it's a new way to deliver responses back to customers where they're not waiting, sending an email and waiting a day, the next day to send something back. We want to get back to you right now if we can. So Intercom is kind of for any SaaS-based business that's customer focused, it's kind of a must-have type of product. And there are a number of ones out there, but we're pretty happy with Intercom. There's another product called Canny, which was pretty interesting. Canny allows you to have your customers put in feature requests for your product. And then it allows other customers to vote and comment on that feature request. And then as you provide updates to that, anybody that's voted or commented, it automatically notifies them of the status of that feature request. So I spend 30, 45 minutes a day inside of Canny answering questions and talking with customers about, new ideas that they have, new use cases that they have on how to get things done. So those 2 are kind of at the top. And then any great SaaS company has to have a community. And we use a product called Tribe, which is kind of new to the space. We're still trying to figure out if that's, ultimately the best product for us, but it's pretty good. But it allows our customers to come in and ask questions to each other and respond and answer questions to each other. And our team jumps in as well, but we're trying to build that community where it could be about our software, or it could just be about no code in general, just general questions about things that other people could answer. But there's 3 good ones for you.
Amazing. That is quite the lineup. Appreciate you sharing that. We'll steal one more thing from you. See, as how far I can get into your processes or strategies over here without the legal team coming after us. So before we jump out of here, can I get a specific process or strategy that you use when either building a business? This can be in sales, marketing, product development, any portion of the whole B2B adventure. Can you share a specific process or strategy that you have in your tool belt with us that we can kind of take home and keep in our cheat sheet per se?
Sure. I think I'll tell you what it is, but you have to know my background to understand it. In that, sure. I kind of grew up in the Big Four, Big Six consulting era, with Ernst & Young, and I'm a very process centric person. Like anytime I think about things, I think about flowcharts happening as people are talking about things. I'm a flowchart person. So, my mantra is kind of what gets measured gets done. And so every time we think about something, we document that. We have, yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly goals that take place for the company. And then everything that we do matches back against those so that everybody in the company understands the why on why we're focused on certain things. So whether you use an approach like EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system that's there, or you have your own approach, or you just use goals and objectives, those types of things. I'm big on documenting what those goals and objectives are and then aligning the work of the people around that.
That is amazing. No, I think a big portion of this shows in just how quickly and how that just really the scale of some of the growth of the companies you've been involved in. There's just no way that's not happening without that intention, that tracking, that measurement, those deeper analytics. So absolutely brilliant. So let's keep it rocking and rolling here. We got a quick little B2Beast blitz here for you.
All
where
right.
You get one shot, one answer, one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted. And we'll just go through a quick list of each of these items, and you can take as long as you need to answer it, but you get one answer with no context or explanation.
All right.
So we'll go through these 5, and then we'll get to hear more about SmartSuite and how you guys can tap into this brilliant product. So on to the blitz, beginning now. Number 1, Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos?
Bezos.
Boom. All right. Number 2, Apple or Android?
Apple.
All right. Number 3, this will take you back. Backstreet Boys or NSYNC?
Is there a third option of neither? Or I'll say NSYNC.
All right, it is confirmed. Jon Darbyshire loves NSYNC. Number 4, board games or video games?
Video games.
Boom. All right, and last one. Are you the kind to dip your toe in or dive in head first?
Yeah, dive in head first.
Boom! No surprise there. I could have guessed that one was coming. Absolutely amazing to hear more from your world. And before we get to our last mic drop moment, I want to hear from you and this brilliant product that I've it's taken me a long time to fully absorb and answer exactly what it is. But from what I can tell, it's very much the closest thing we have to an all-in-one workflow and business management operation solution. So my headspace originally was like, oh, it's kind of like Airtable, but does this and this. Oh, it's kind of like Monday, but does this and this. And now what I'm really realizing with all the integrations you have is you are almost making Zapier redundant. All of that cross-platform stuff that goes from one application to another. I just got used to the ecosystem of being like, oh, I'll never be able to connect this with this. But you are answering all of those problems and questions under the hood. So I would love to hear from your words and your world. What is SmartSuite and who is this for? And how can we start spreading this awesomeness out into the world, because it is live, it is active, and it is awesome.
Yeah, let me tell you first about the problem the reason that we thought about SmartSuite was, most employees in an organization work somewhere between, or have between 5 and 7 products that they work with to do their job each day. And those could be, if I'm a marketing person, I'm using HubSpot, but I'm also, I'm using Slack, I'm using email, maybe I'm doing some integration stuff, using some spreadsheets. Like, you have all these different things with data in all these different places that are there. And when I was investing in all of these startup companies, one of the first questions that I got time and time again was, what infrastructure do we put in place to run our business that can scale as we grow? And the conversation, sometimes we would spend as much time talking about that as we did about the idea that they had, right? So I knew there was a problem that was there. So about 3.5 years ago, I said, I want to take a little different look at how to solve that problem and to create a single platform that could help businesses run and manage their business on one platform. But if they have products that they love already, like Salesforce or HubSpot or Zendesk, that are integrated, into the company, will also provide capabilities to pull data and get data from those very easily. So they could still have kind of a main hub in SmartSuite, but pull data from the other products. So the idea and what SmartSuite is all about is we're a no-code work management platform that allows you to manage any business process or project in one place. And the word no-code is just a fancy word meaning I can use drag and drop capabilities to organize what my process needs to be. If I have a sales process, a marketing, a product, right? And we provide templates for 200 different processes that you can download. This goes back to my days at E&Y, that are best in class, meaning if you don't know what a great process looks like for this particular thing, you can download a best in class process. It's ready to go for you, that's there. We also wanted to bring enterprise level features that were typically just reserved for products that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, like I built at Archer Technologies. We wanted to bring those to the masses at a price point that's not been done before. So if you're a small business, you're going to get the same feature set and capabilities as Goldman Sachs that uses something like us, for $10 per user per month, right? So we're trying to just like blow it out with hey, I'm going to get the same features, and what it's based on is usage. So, as the more you use it, the more information you put in, you'll move up to our next plan eventually, which is $24 per user per month, all the way through to our enterprise plan. So you can think of it as just one place that you can go to manage your business. And we tried to take traditionally what are 6 or 7 different product categories and put them all into one product. So if you are doing project management, you're using products like Asana and Monday and ClickUp and Twello, we have all those features, right? We have 90 to 95% of those feature sets. If you use a product like Airtable or ServiceNow that's more business process related or a database, we provide those capabilities. If you use Zapier or Make, we give you some integration capabilities that are built in so you don't have to have that product. We do the same for form building tools and for data analytics and for dashboards, like all those things built in one place on a user interface that's been custom built for millennials and Gen Zers, who are the people that we feel are the ones that do the work in most organizations, right? So it has to be interesting and engaging and collaborative for them to be motivated to do their work, keep their attention this there. So you're going to see things that feel, a little like Facebook at times or Twitter that they're used to on how they collaborate with people inside the organization. Lots of colors, just a little different UI.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful product in all definitions of the word, visual and under the hood. Now that it takes a while to absorb and understand the full capabilities. But you guys, these templates that he's mentioning, these are absolute game changers. This was one of the most exciting things I saw in navigating and exploring is you have that full spectrum to start from a complete template that has every row, column, drop down that you would need, or the fully custom if you have a weird stage or process in there, like they have all of that accommodated. So how can we best support you? That's where I want to tap into. How can we best support you, and where can we go do that to discover download or share SmartSuite with the world?
Sure. Yeah, you can just go to smartsuite.com. We're a product-led growth company, which means that you can come to our website and start a free 14-day trial, no credit card required. We don't ask for any of that information. You can try it till you love it, is what we like to say. At the end of 14 days, if you're not ready to make a purchase decision just yet, we have a free version for up to 3 users that you can just continue to use forever for 3 users that are there. And if once you find a product market fit inside of your organization, right, value from our product, then you can move to one of our paid plans as you start to increase over the 3 users. So we're really trying to change the game on how people think about buying software, and to make it very easy for you to say, 14 days isn't enough. Fine. Take 30 days, take a year. We don't care. We're going to let you use the product with the full feature set during that time.
Yet another brilliant approach. So many gems hiding here throughout this conversation. So heavily encourage you guys to at least check it out. Jump into that $0 free trial. Like, it's amazing to at least see what's under the hood, and then all those switches will start to flip and see where and how you can use it. So, Jon, absolutely amazing journey you've been on so far. This is truly what I envision as, this is what it's all about. Building that dream life, building these businesses, massive, world-changing, economical, you're shifting the landscape of how business is operating out here. And for that, I recognize and appreciate you deeply for being able to share your time, your message, your mission, and all of that with us today. So just had to give a quick thank you before you're out of here, but we are going to hand the mic back to you one more time for some final words of advice or motivation that you can share, because there's going to be a listener here. We went through a lot of systems and marketing and sales and nitty-gritty type of stuff, but sometimes you don't have that heart or that inspiration to pull you forward.
Right.
What is the best advice or motivation that you can share here to send this listener into beast mode?
All right. Yeah, I'll just say that no-code platforms are going to change the world, right? That's a pretty bold statement. But what that means is that, traditionally you've had software developers that build software for companies, and it takes long periods of times and, tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars to build specific software. No-code means you're using drag and drop capabilities to build software. SmartSuite is a no-code application, but we're one of hundreds of no-code products across every kind of category you can think of that is converging right now. This is happening right now. And consultants, people that are just coming out of school, freelancers and consultants just coming out of school, are going to find ways to make a living being no-code consultants back in this new industry that's happening. It's very different, very exciting. And people people right out of school are making, really good 6-figure, salaries working with no-code platforms and customers and pulling these things together to help solve problems. But no-code is definitely the future of software.
Boom! There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Jon Darbyshire.
You're a beast.